Hello everyone, welcome to the first chapter of the Huawei HCIP OpenEULER course. This section, we will continue to introduce the common service management of OpenEULER. We have learned about the common service of Apache, Nginx, DNS, and MyCircle. Next, let's look at how these services work together and combine architecture of web implementations LAMP and LNMP.
At present, we have basically finished learning the web server and its related service. Now let's review the web service access process again. From this picture we can see, first, the user initiates a request to the web server through the browser. After receiving the request, the web server determines the requested resource type according to the information in the request package of the user. If the resource is static, the web server directly reads the corresponding resources and returns it to the user. If the resource is dynamic, the web server forwards the request to the corresponding application module. When the application runs, the resource requested by the user is generated. During the running process, related data may be read or written to the database server, and the generated data will be returned to the user through the web server. Currently, the implementation of web service adopts two architectures, LAMP and LNMP. L indicates Linux, which indicates the operating system on which the web server and application server run. In this course, L indicates OpenEULER. A and N are Apache and Nginx, which are applications that implement web service. M indicates MyCircle, which is used to store the database system required by application. P indicates the development language of an application. It was first named PHP and now refers to multiple development languages starting with P, such as Python and Perl. In addition, M also stands for MariaDB, which is an open-source database redeveloped by MyCircle founders after MyCircle was acquired. The usage method is basically the same as that of MyCircle. When Apache and Nginx invoke backend application servers, related configurations are required. Next, let's take PHP as an example to describe the configuration of Apache and Nginx. First is Apache. Install the PHP support program required by the PHP applications, and then add the PHP-related configuration to the MIME module so that Apache can identify and run the PHP-related programs. The MIME module is used to define a standard for file types. And finally, modify the Apache configuration file so that the user can find the corresponding PHP program by URL. The Nginx is configured in the same way as Apache. The difference is that the user and group parameters in the PHP configuration file need to be set to the users specified in the nginx.conf configuration file. The application may need to read and write data to the database at runtime. So we also need to tell the application how to connect to the database. Here we take PHP and MyCircle as an example. First, install the driver for connecting PHP to MyCircle on the application server. and then configure the permission on MyCircle so that the application can access MyCircle. The permissions include the IP address of the database open to the client, the username and password required for accessing the database, and the permission to perform operations after logging into the database. And besides this, please note that if you choose a different method for connecting PHP to the database, the driver for connecting PHP to MyCircle does not need to be installed. Finally, let's use WordPress, a basic application based on LAMP or LNMP. It can be used to build your own website or blog. It's a contact management system written in PHP. The backend uses MyCircle can be accessed through HTTP or HTTPS. So we will use this WordPress as an example to show you how to use LAMP architecture.
Next, let's practice building WordPress. In the LAMP architecture, we use the first machine where the Apache service is installed. Install PHP on the machine and connect the machine to the first MyCircle server. Now we run yum install to install PHP. After the installation is complete, we can run the php-v to check the 8.0.30 version of PHP is installed. Then we add the configuration about PHP in Apache's main configuration file. At the same time, we also need to restore the port, homepage, and other configurations that we modified in the previous experiment. So vim etc httpd conf httpd.conf. First, we uncomment the port listen configuration and listening the port 18. Then we change the home directory restored to the vir3w HTML. We turn to MIME module configuration. And here in line 287 of the MIME module, we add type application to httpd-php .php, and for the PHP file, set it to the httpd php for processing, and save exit. To prevent the interference, we back up and delete all the configurations in the extended configuration directory created by the previous practice. So we cd to etc httpd and conf.d. Make directory for configuration backup directory. Move all of the files to configuration.bk directory. This system displays a message indicating that the new conf.bk directory cannot be moved to its own directory. This is normal you can view the previous configuration files by running ls. It's turned to conf.d directory. Then we move php.conf, move the PHP configuration files to the current directory. After that, there is only one conf.bk directory and the php.conf file under the conf.d directory. Then we confirm the main configuration files we have configured and delete the comment marks before listen and document root lines in the main configuration file, and we restart the HTTP service now. System control restart for new configuration to take effect. We can use SS to check whether it's successful. We grep port 18, it's listening properly. We create index.php in the root directory of HTTPD to test whether the Apache and the PHP work properly. So now we cd to var and 3w HTML. Create a new file index.php. Save and exit. And then we enter the Apache host public IP address with the path of index.php in the browser to access the Apache server. Here we have seen the PHP version is 8.0.30 and the system build information indicates that PHP is normal. So after the PHP is normal, we need to connect to the MySQL database. We check whether all success permission of the root account are bypassed. If localhost is used, only the MySQL server can log into the database. So in this case, we need to change it to %, which is same as the method we introduced earlier. So now we run MySQL-u root-p and password command to switch to the MySQL server and use the root user to log in. After that, we use MySQL database. Use show tables to check. Here we have the user table. We use command to check the structure of the table. The first two columns are host and user, and we need to check whether the host of the root user is set to localhost or %. Then we run the select start. From user to view all the data. Here, the localhost root. Or we can also use the select host from user, where user equals to root. and it can filter out the root is localhost. Then we modify the permission by running update user set host equals to %, where user equals to root. And we select to check again, and here the root user have changed to %, to allow all of the hosts to access the MySQL database. Then we use flash privilege to refresh the configuration. Query is OK means we have finished. Now it's allowing all of the hosts except the local host to access the MySQL database. After we refresh the privilege, we can switch back to the first Apache host. Install MySQL on it. Then we connect to the MySQL client, connect to the MySQL server. After installation complete, we run the MySQL-h. Use the private IP address for MySQL server database. It's use the internal IP address because they use the same network segment, so we can directly use the private IP address to connect each other. -u for root user, -p for the password. Now we can connect to the fourth MySQL server. Now we can exit first if the connection is normal. Then we install the driver for connecting PHP to MySQL. So we run the yum install -y php-mysql. After installation, we compile the test file connection mysql.php for connecting PHP to MySQL and place it to the HTTP home directory. In this file, here is MySQL connection information, IP address, the user, and password. If connection is properly, query OK. If connection is failed, display not OK. Save and quit. Then we enter Apache host public IP address with the path connection mysql.php in the browser's address box to access the Apache server and check whether it's OK, it's returned. Now OK is displayed, so it indicates the PHP connection to MySQL database is normal. Now the PHP and MySQL environment are ready. Now let's prepare the WordPress resources. On the Apache host, we run the following command to download the WordPress installation package. First, we cd to home directory and then make directory for WordPress. We use wget for WordPress homepage to download the package. Move this installation package to WordPress directory. We switch to WordPress and turn the installation package. After that, we log into the MySQL database and create the database required by WordPress. In this practice, we named the database WordPress by running MySQL to connect and also give the name to WordPress. Create database WordPress. And then we create a special user named WP for the database and grant the user the read and write permission to all the table in the database. So we create user WP at %, identified by the password. Then we grant the permission, grant all privileges on WordPress database and start for all tables to WP user with at %, for all permissions. And finally, at the end is the semicolon. Flush privileges to take effect the configuration. After the configuration is complete, we can run the MySQL-UWP and P password to test whether the database can be accessed by WP user. So first we exit by root. We use MySQL command and user for WP. And now we can see the WP user can access to the database. And if we check the database, we can see the WordPress database. So after the database is created and the special user is also created, now we go to install WordPress. Exit first. Then we copy all the files in the WordPress directory to the home directory of HTTPD. So here we cp copy all of the files to ver 3w/html. And during the copy, the system asks you whether to overwrite the original index.php file and enter Y to overwrite. And then we ls 3w.html. Here, all of the file has been copied to Apache home directory. Then we enter the public IP address of Apache server with the wp admin /install.php path. To start the installation process for WordPress, we switch to the browser, type the path, and here we click Let's Go to start the installation. On the page displayed here, we enter the MySQL database information, including the database name, WordPress, username, WP, the password, hallway@123. Host is the private IP address of the database, so that is the first server where the MySQL database is installed. We click Submit. And here a message is displayed that indicating the WordPress configuration file wp.php cannot be found. It means we need to manually create the file. We should copy this file content to the wp-config.php file, what we created manually. First, switch to ver 3w/html. And then we create wp-config.php file. We copy the content shown in the browser page to the file. Here is also the configuration information, such as the name, the user, the password, and the host IP address. After that, we save and exit. Then we switch to the browser's page, click Run to installation. And here in this page, you can set the username and password of the WordPress. And here the username I can set OpenEwler and set the password is hallway@123 and the title to Welcome OpenEwler. For email, you can enter any email address, for example, test@test.com. Okay, and we check after configuration is complete, click Install WordPress. After the installation is complete, we can click Log In. Enter the username and password what we have set. Try to log in. Now it's turned to the WordPress homepage. And here the set title is Welcome Open Euler. So in this practice, both the WordPress installation package, Apache, and MyCircle run on the Open Euler operating system, an advanced Linux distribution, which is an embodiment of ELF. And WordPress installation and access after installation are implemented through the web service. In this practice, the web service are provided by Apache, which is the A. Before installation WordPress, we have created a WordPress database in MyCircle. During the installation, it has entered related information such as the username and password. After the installation is complete, WordPress automatically creates tables and data in the database. And we can go to the database and check it. Here we use WordPress database. And then show tables. Here, these are a lot of tables after installation the WordPress. So these are M representations. And WordPress is developed based on the PHP, which is the embodiment of P. Here you can see all of the files is finished by .php. So this is a comprehensive practice of LAMP.
This is the end of the first chapter of Open Euler Common Service Management. Finally, let's take a look at the question. Which of the following are characteristics of MyCircle database? First, MyCircle is a commercial database. MyCircle databases are both relational and non-relational. A large amount of contributed MyCircle software is available. MyCircle works in client-server systems. This is a multiple answer question, so what do you think are the right answers? The answer is C and D. MyCircle is an open-source relational database. Therefore, A and B are incorrect.
In this chapter, we introduce two mainstream web service applications, Apache HTTP and Nginx, and their principles and configurations. In addition, we introduce the principles and configurations of the DNS domain name resolution service, which is indispensable for web access, as well as a database that dynamic resources are essential. Take MyCircle as an example to introduce the operation of circle statement. Finally, we set up the LAMP architecture WordPress. So that's all for the first chapter. Thank you for watching.